My friends know I've been on an epic quest to paint all of Mythic Battles Ragnarok, the awesome Norse mythology Kickstarter miniature board game set from Monolith Games. Now, if you haven't tried the game, it's awesome. The dashboard and dicing system is incredible. You can try it for free. There's a module for Tabletop Simulator for this game. Give it a try. You won't regret it. Now, I have been trying for a long time to get these miniatures painted, and it's taken much longer than I would have liked. Some of you have done the math.
Let's see here, it's 60 months. 16 months minus 30 plus 30 and 13 months. Let's see what's going on here. And yeah, he's screwed. And
So we're going to pick up the pace, and in this episode I would like to share with you two projects I did recently, both troop units from the Ragnarok set. The first are the Light Elves, mysterious creatures that show up in the Norse mythology from time to time. They sort of influence how the will of the gods is being inflicted on us mere mortals. And then there's the Ulfhednar, literally means wolf head, a warrior cult of berserkers that like to wear the wolf carcass as their costume. And I would like to cover two key points in this project, two key painting tips. One is inks over Zenithal. It's a perennial topic. It keeps coming up again and again in our space. It's a great ticket to speed painting. Let's take a look at inks over Zenithal. And for the Ulfhednar here, they look really bland without tattoos, so I gave my first attempt at tattoos. It's all about brush grip and setup. We'll talk about that.
This is Cybermark Studio.
Because all the good cyber names were taken. Painting inks over Zenithal is just that. Painting ink or thin paint or transparent model colors like I have here over your Zenithal. But wait! So maybe you're new to the hobby and you don't know what this is. Zenithal literally means light from above, and if you're not doing this now, you have got to get on this immediately. This is how everyone does it these days. You can do it with a brush, and I actually do a combo method with airbrush and a brush, but either way, you have got to start doing this right away. It absolutely will level up your game, and is the first thing I recommend for new painters to get in on is Zenithal Highlighting. In this case, I've already done the Zenithal with the airbrush, but I am reinforcing it and adding more white to the extreme highlights using a dry brush. This is where I kick off most of the extra paint off the brush, and here I am just touching lightly on the extreme highlights. I want to basically hit that jewelry as hard as I can with white. Now look at that. When the inks over Zenithal is dry, you're off to a really good start. And if you're going for tabletop, you're done. So get off your duff and get painting your miniatures. You can get them done so fast this way. That said, absolutely do not shoot yourself in the foot like I am doing here, painting the same models in the same troop unit, different colors. I just wanted to experiment with different inks over Zenithal, and it was fun. But it cost a lot more work and time than I really wanted. Before I learned that lesson, I simply had to try dioxanine purple with this method. I mean, it just sounds a cool sounding name, dioxanine purple. How could I not try it? And yeah, it's a really intense ink. After a couple quick experiments, I wasn't happy with how speed paints would have worked on the flesh tones in this case, so I decided to build up a pale whitish pinkish flesh tone, which is typical of elves, and let's see how it goes from here. So this is about where I decided to actually paint over and trace out the silver jewelry on their faces. It was a tough decision. I could have just slathered speed paint flesh tone over the faces and been forgiven for that. But I asked a few master artists in my area, and they said, yeah, they would actually take the time and paint the jewelry on their face, even though it's a very... there's not a lot of depth to that casting in the sculpture there. They're just barely there. But I did my best. I decided to trace them out as a practice in brush control and exercise. And I'm okay with it. I do not recommend doing this, especially for a troop type unit, but I learned from the experience. It's all part of the journey. To try to get warmed up and to prepare for that exercise, I decided to practice on some of the small details that are sculpted into their clothing. I thought that would help get me ready for the tiny, tiny details on their faces. Now for these small bits of jewelry that are basically point dots or strings of point dots, I highly recommend Winsor Newton Silver ink. It is by far the brightest silver I have encountered in the acrylic world. After this, you can just apply a skin wash and maybe paint the eyes, and you are done for tabletop. Now let's move on to the Ulfhednar. For sure I want to get a base coat of speed paints on that wolf head cloak. And I thought the dark wood would be a great speed paint base color for this hood. However, it has very intense coverage and we would lose a lot of the Zenithal information if we just applied it straight up. So I highly recommend thinning with at least 50% speed paint medium. Don't use water. Try it. You'll like the speed paint medium result better. After speed drying the wolf heads with a hairdryer, I then went to tackle the flesh tones, and I started with the sequence of Warpaint's Fanatics that includes the Barbarian Flesh color. That's the series called Rose Skin Tones. Here's a good tip for doing groups of the same type of model. You see, I'm just doing the left arm, and I'm just going to paint the upper left arm on all the models, and that is a good assembly line style process to help get through these troop units faster. These guys are sculpted with a midsection that includes a lot of detail, so I thought I would start with a good base coat of Satchel Brown speed paint. Get all the shading done in one pass. Now, if you're just going for tabletop quality, you could pretty much be done here because these guys are sculpted to be leaning so far forward. You can't see all these details on their bellies anyway. So one coat of speed paint over a strong Zenithal, I would say done for tabletop on these guys. No problem. Of course, my OCD absolutely would not tolerate that, so of course I had to paint all the details. And because they were leaning so far forward, I had to rebase them so they would be standing more upright so you could see all the work I have done on the details of the bellies of these guys. So in just a few minutes, we've pretty much got tabletop quality. Add a few details, paint the base black, and you could just call it done at that point. But of course, I'm going to push it forward. I want to see some more details on these guys. Let's start with the scabbards. I just picked a random reddish color that was in front of me. You could do better, I'm sure. So then I asked myself, how am I going to bring these guys more upright so that we can see all the details I painted on their belly equipment? Well, I went completely insane, and I absolutely do not recommend this, but I 3D printed some bases that put them on a slope so that they are basically charging up a snowy hill, and that allows them to be more visible, and you can see the details I painted on their belly equipment. Great. So the level of detail you want to put onto a troop unit is totally up to you, but I saw this as an opportunity to practice painting some smaller details like eyes. So here's my stab at painting some eyes. Clearly outside of my skill level, so what I do is I overpaint them a bit, and with smaller models it's totally fine to just overpaint their eyes, make them bigger so that they're easier for you to paint. And I end up with 8 eyes that are all basically pointing in the right direction, and I'm calling that a win. Time to add a few Nordic runes to the scabbards. I was really in a hurry. I'm sure you can do better than I did here. Before we talk about setting up for tattoos, I just wanted to thank my friends at Battle Foam for this cool hat. I asked my friends at the Army Painter, but they ghosted me. I don't think they have a hat. You know, I need a hat to cover up my bald head when I do videos, and finally somebody, Battle Foam, sent me a hat. Thank you so much. I keep all my troops in Battle Foam. It is the deluxe premium way to store and transport your miniatures. Thanks again, Battle Foam. So, if you're ready to break into the world of painting tattoos, you're going to need a magnifier. And there's lots of different choices. Some people like the big magnifier that sits in front of you with the ring light. That's fine. I find I can get away often with just some high magnification reading glasses. These are 7X, and they basically allow me to see the detail I need to actually paint tattoos. And you can't see anything else with them, though. You can only see right in front of your face. And you have to get firm mechanical contact. You got to have a comfortable chair with back support, so you're relaxed in your seated position. Your elbows must be supported, firmly mechanically connected to the table. Your hand must be firmly mechanically connected to the model you're painting and firmly mechanically connected to the brush. You're going to grip the brush with as many fingers as you can. I can wrap 4 and get those fingers right to the end of the ferrule. That's the metal part. You're going to get right in there. And when you are ready to close to actually do the tattoo, you've got a firm mechanical connection with the model, your hand, and the elbow to the table, to the back of the chair, to your feet. You are one solid mechanical thing. And you'll find that if it's done just right, you can actually get away with moving the model and keeping the brush still. That's when you know your setup is just about right. Of course, you'll have a little bit more control if you move the brush, and you want to focus on very small areas at a time. And because I'm speed painting, I'm interested in doing a decent job in a short time. I got away with a few swirls, and when you hold the model in your hand, they come across as tattoos, even Celtic-looking tattoos, and that's fine. I'm not going to win any awards for this job, but it only took about an hour for all the troops, and that's a lot of tattoos, and I invite you to try it yourself. Good luck and enjoy. Oh, and on top of all that, you're going to need a brush with a really fine point, for sure Sable, possibly even a Winsor Newton Series 7. At some point, you will need to graduate to a brush with a really fine point to really get in there and do eyes and tattoos well. And that's it for today. Thanks so much for letting me share my project with you. Clearly, I'm not I'm good, do it this way, tutorial kind of YouTuber. I'm on this journey and I'm just sharing it, having fun on the way. I am really determined to finish all of Mythic Battles Ragnarok, and I'm going to show every project I do on the way. We're going to start grouping projects. We're going to get through it because I've actually also started work on Mythic Battles Isfet. The Egyptian units are awesome, so a lot more fun coming down the pipe for you to enjoy as we share this journey together. Thanks so much for watching, and if you haven't already, subscribe, hit that notification icon so you don't miss any of these rare videos that I do as I go through the entire set of Mythic Battles. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.